we have been already discussing about from the last two videos. We have discussed about three different types of pension schemes in Denmark. The ordinary pension scheme, the 53A, which is international pension scheme, and the third one, which is the exemption for internationals. So we have continued our discussion, we are going to now see the tips and tricks because we have already seen pros and cons of these different kind of pension schemes in previous videos. Now we are going to see particularly tips and tricks. We are also try to answer a few questions that people usually have. So without taking further ado, let's start our content. So last time we were discussing pros and cons of these different schemes. Now we are continuing with tips and tricks. So with scheme one, you gain a seniority at pension fund, which eventually allows you to take easy loans for house, car, etc. This is something that I have read on Twitter. I'm not sure this is pretty true or not. Only a Danish or a person with such experience would be able to tell. But this is something that I've read on Twitter as well as on Reddit. On Twitter, it was like a long ago. The tweet was from very long ago, but you can find this on Reddit r/DK Finance. It's very easy to find out this particular subreddit. Okay, then housing stock is something refers to a pool of housing units, often apartments, that are made available to members of a pension fund or similar organization, offering them here them are referred to as the pensioners or the aged people, basically who are currently at the age of 65 plus, offering them an opportunity to secure affordable or desirable housing options, especially in competitive cities like Copenhagen. So this is something that Scheme 1 would benefit. Then, but on top of it, I have seen most of the Danes, or at least a few of the Norwegians, which I'm aware of, they would rather basically take all their pension money when they are retired and go to some cheap European country and then stay rest of the time and stay there rest of the life. This is what I have seen, but I'm not pretty sure what exactly they follow. But it can be a good or a smart move. For example, collecting all your life savings in Denmark or Norway, earn more basically, and spend like a rich in those cheap countries. It can be an option. But on top of it, housing is something that you should look because these apartments are very costly, and you can stand a chance to get to secure an affordable or desirable housing options at later stages of your life. So this is what Scheme One offers, but it's shady. It's not mentioned anywhere as I have seen so far. It's not at all like mm, made as a rule or regulation somewhere. It's something that people have been talking about. So I'm not completely sure about this tip, but definitely it makes sense at least because you are spending whole your life in Denmark paying taxes and pension, right? You are with scheme one, you are basically contributing to the pension all your life by staying in Denmark, more or less, unless you move out of Denmark. We'll come to that question later, but it makes sense to me. You can go with option three and make more returns, but taxes are much higher in that case, which is not worth all effort. This is something I have read on Reddit by someone who is 42 to 43-year old with his wife, and they both basically saved money all their life, but they end up making a decision that they were like putting a lot of efforts when it is compared with the options one and two. Best way if you are not planning to stay in Denmark, 53A, which is scheme two, is the go-to if government is also contributing the pension. Otherwise, scheme three. As I've told you, the two-third amount that state or the government puts along with you, along with your one-third, is something that you should look it as lucrative offer. So that's why 53A or Scheme 2 can be useful for you if you're basically not planning to stay in Denmark. But what happens if you move abroad and let's say you have been investing in pension scheme 1? So what happens if you move abroad? Question like, if I choose the scheme 1 and then I leave Denmark in a few years, am I forced to pay out with 60% tax? Or I can leave it here and collect it from Denmark at the lesser normal tax rate once I'm retired? So you might already have this question by now. So to answer this, it's just the same as normal pension scheme 1 and 2. Even if you leave Denmark, the money will still just be in the account, earning interest, and be paid out whenever you are old enough to retire. So the 60% only applies if you decide to take it out early, which is something I don't see any benefit to. Even if you move the money to another country, it still wouldn't be able to. You would still would not be able to take it out of the retirement fund early. So let's say you move from Denmark to Norway, and your Danish pension fund also moves from Denmark to Norway. Then probably you still will not be able to access your pension fund, right? So hence not paying that 60% fees for early withdrawal. So this is kind of a question like if you have, let's say, if you are doing a PhD for 3 years in Denmark and you have been contributing to the pension scheme fund for all your 3 years, then probably you don't want to waste 60% of the money by just withdrawing it, right? Better you would make the money sit in Denmark, basically keeping that money as it is in Denmark, let it grow with its pace, and have a secure fund, right? Because uh, Danish currency will not collapse anytime sooner, so you can safely bet on the government, the welfare state, etc., the state welfare, etc. So if I am at this position, let's say I have been investing all my pension money with this scheme 1, then probably I would be choosing to not choosing to take out money after 3 years, and I would not choose to pay 60% tax. Rather than that, I would make the money grow in Denmark, and if in future when I retire, I would request the government to give it to me basically. But it's all on individual thoughts. For example, because the pension scheme one comes with a lot of other benefits as well, right? So I might see those benefits at priority right now um, compared with the taking money um, out after 3 years, right? What happens if you move abroad? So when moving from Denmark, you retain the right to have a pension paid out from ETP when you retire. ETP will write you when you approach the retirement age. Therefore, you must remember to contact ETP if you leave Denmark. Um, if you subsequently change your address abroad. So this is just a small thing. ETP, I think I'm also not sure about ETP right now, but ETP is assumed as the agency that governs the pension schemes, I guess. Okay. Keeping money in Denmark for the rest of the life with Scheme 1. If you go with Scheme 1 and leave Denmark, you eventually prefer to keep money in Denmark and not pay 60% tax. That's what I was saying. Keep all the details of pension, CPF, pension fund, etc. with you once you retire 50 years from now. And if in another country, will most likely count this time in Denmark. Also, once you are retired, you just tell the pension fund you have retired, showing documents, and you will get a pension paid out. The option 2 and 3 are same, and to me they are not interesting because you will lose roughly 40% of money with no tax 1 DKK is 6 DKK 40 years from now, assuming a modest 5% yearly earnings. To me, choosing this option, you are basically giving up 40% of your retirement money. So this is why I think scheme one is something that you should think about. Problem with scheme three is like in short, if you end up not investing that 17% money, then you are not only losing money state would contribute, but also the compounding growth on it, which is time value of money. Any money getting to your account from state is taxed, and hence the pension plus the supplements. So even if you choose to take pension as paid out in your salary account, you're going to pay tax on it, and hence on the pension plus supplements as well. So the pension exemption agreement cannot be retroactive. This means that any pension contribution already made by the state employer, for example, the university, to relevant pension fund is irreversible. So it can be university, it can be some other state agency, or any other company as well. Advantage of scheme 2 is you are the owner of your funds when you leave Denmark. If you leave Denmark and choose to have your pension savings paid out in cash before retirement age, this payout will not be taxed in Denmark, basically. This can be a food for thought for you. I just keep it here, keep this slide still, and maybe you can read this slide at your disposal. Okay, I would really like to tell you again that these all are my personal study, understanding, and summary. I'm not giving any suggestions or asking you to make decisions on my personal study, right? Going for private schemes is another thing which I have not considered in this video. Pension or no pension. In Denmark, you can make tax-free contributions to your pension. So that is obvious advantage. Usually, your employer will also contribute to your pension. So these are some advantages. I think each of the scheme has its own benefits and drawbacks, but I found first to be very smooth and safe option to continue living in Denmark without worrying too much about private insurance companies, etc. While we should consider in fact that with scheme 3 you can always earn more return compared with the pension fund manager. However, scheme 2 lies in somewhere middle for internationals who leave Denmark after their employment contract. These are few Reddit screenshots which can be useful to read if you still have any further interest or anything left to uh, basically if you want to know more about this, you can keep on like checking these Reddit screenshots. I'll just go with the slides and you can pause your screen and read it. This is specifically the case for a PhD person. Okay, then thank you so much for following the series, and I hope this all makes sense and you enjoyed the learning. Thank you so much. Bye bye.